Oh hi, thanks for watching my video. So, what's going on with The Sims 4? I don't really often do videos like this where I just sort of talk unless I'm doing a voiceover for a speed build, which I haven't done. But there's just been quite a few little things that I've kind of thought, that's interesting. And they've kind of built a little bit of a mountain, and so I kind of feel like, well, let's just talk about it all in one video. And I'm talking about things like the introduction of scenarios, the fact that we've had nothing but kits and no announcement for any other pack, and now we have the story progression coming. So that's what we're going to talk about today, my thoughts on all of this, and plus a couple other little things as well in the pipeline that we'll be chatting about. I'm not using a script or anything, I'm just giving you guys a few updates and my opinions on it, so forgive me if I stumble over my words a couple of times. So let's start with probably the latest news, which is story progression, or neighbourhood stories as they've called it. When I first read this, I felt a mixture of two feelings. The feeling of being very happy because I thought, this is brilliant, we're getting story progression, we're going to have more depth to the game, it's going to be more meaningful, and finally base game is going to get the attention that it deserves. But then on the other hand, I also felt just really confused. Confused about the story progression itself, and why now? Why 7 years into the run of the game are they starting to do this? In one of my earlier videos, I think it was called Everything The Sims 4 Did That Let the Community Down. I don't usually do negative videos, I promise. But in that video, I speculated that I thought The Sims 4 was coming towards the end of its run, hence why we had all the kits, and they were pretty much getting ready to close up shop on The Sims 4 anyway, and roll on to The Sims 5. I still don't necessarily think having story progression is going to change that. If anything, that's kind of made me think that more, because out of all of the games, The Sims 4 has had the worst response from Simmers, and it's offered significantly less than other base games. So I kind of, it doesn't surprise me that we're getting story progression, because I feel like maybe what they're trying to do is leave things on a positive note, like try and beef out the base game so that Simmers are satisfied with The Sims 4 as maybe, I don't know, maybe a way to ensure they get sales for The Sims 5, because a lot of people that play The Sims 4 have kind of said that they wouldn't be interested in buying The Sims 5 because of some of the things that were in The Sims 4 that were a bit disappointing. So I still think there is a good chance that The Sims 4 is coming to the end of its run, potentially within the year. And before I get on to what the Sims team have said about story progression, what it's going to look like, I just wanted to mention that I thought a couple of months ago, like back in the summer, there was some talk about doing like a lore update, like the families were going to get an update, and I haven't heard anything else about this. And now I'm just kind of wondering whether I just completely imagined that entire thing. But I mean, this clearly isn't the same thing, having story progression and then having lore within the townies, like backstories and things like that. They're different things, right? So I don't know whether that's been scrapped, or whether the story progression is supposed to be that, or whether that is coming but just not till much later. I'm not really sure what happened with that, but maybe we'll get some kind of update on it in the future. So let's talk about story progression first. So from my understanding, the gist of it is that neighbour Sims that live outside of the active household will now make decisions to progress their lives in some way, whether it be choosing a new career, having a baby, getting married, all of that. I guess with the purpose of making the neighbourhood feel more alive, and that it's not just you playing in your active household and things are changing around you, which is great. It's not personally my thing, I like to control my households, but you know, I would definitely welcome something like this if it makes the game a little bit more interesting. And according to the little article or the update that they published, it's understandably quite a big feature. So I think it's going to be rolled out in different releases. So the first one is going to focus on Sims that are actively connected to your household. So the Sims that you're playing with, you know, if they don't know Judith Ward, you won't get anything to do with her. It would just be people like co-workers that they've gotten to know, friends, or people that they've met while they've been out and about. It does seem to me like this is going to operate completely differently to The Sims 3. With The Sims 3 story progression, it just kind of happened. And, I mean, I guess it depends what you're into, but it was quite nice being able to go into your neighbourhood and discover things by clicking on the families or seeing them, or maybe your sim bumps into them in the park and it's like, oh, they had a son, but it's not going to be like that as far as I can see in The Sims 4. So from what I've read, it looks like your neighbours, or for the first release anyway, just the people that you know, will either autonomously decide to instigate a change in their life, like changing their career or having a baby, or your sim can influence them. And I might have misinterpreted this, but from what I understand, this only happens as a result of your decision. So you either directly send your sim to influence someone else to change their life, or they autonomously decide that they want to change their life, but they'll still call your sim and ask for input before they do anything, and then it's up to you to say yes or no. So it's kind of story progression, but it's something that you have to oversee. I mean, I personally don't think that's a bad thing, but I am concerned about some things getting repetitious. I mean, look at the likes and dislikes. The amount of times I get pop-ups for likes and dislikes, and then with the kids, with parenthood, they're always popping up asking these questions about, I don't know, should I eat dirty food or something? And then you also have, from the Bust the Dust kit, Sims constantly sniffing their surroundings before they do anything. So I'm just a bit worried that this is going to become a repetitive pop-up that kind of disrupts the game, because when I play a simulation game, I like to have, you know, some things that pop up every once in a while, like the notifications, but you kind of just want to get into it and just enjoy the game rather than having it disrupted so often. And so I kind of feel like if you have all the packs, your Sim's constantly stopping to smell the air, then you're always getting pop-ups for likes and dislikes, and then you're always going to get pop-ups for story progression. Might be a bit disruptive, but I mean, I guess we'll see. It might not be. They might have thought of that and have something in place. The article that they wrote suggests that they will be taking that into consideration, so I guess we'll see, but hopefully it's not too disruptive. I'm not really that big of a fan of it having to be down to my decision, or maybe like some things could be and some things couldn't. Like for a sim to accept a marriage proposal, then okay, I'm happy to be the naysayer in this situation, but I don't really get why I would be asked for my sim to get promoted in their career. Like, that should just happen naturally. Who would say no to that? No, I want you to stay at the bottom. That doesn't really make much sense to me, that you choose whether or not they get promoted in their career. I do like the influence system though. I like that my sim can influence others to change their life. I mean, to be honest, if I had it my way, I probably would make it so that other Sims never called me to ask me questions, but it would just be done through influence, or it just happens without me knowing. I like the fact that you can try and set people up on dates to form a romantic relationship. I like that you can slag off other Sims and make other people hate one person. I like that you can convince unemployed Sims to get off their arse and get a job. All of those things I really like. I'm excited to try those. The influence system sounds really good to me so far. It looks like we'll also be getting 2 new aspirations as well. Neighbourhood Confidante, for Sims who aspire to be a helpful and positive presence in the lives of neighbour Sims. Making friends and guiding others towards life changes will earn the new Confidant trait, which increases the chances of conversations being pleasant. And there's also Villainous Valentine, which is for Sims who aspire to destroy the love lives of all Sims, including their own. Have your Sim break up with someone, have them break up other couples, and earn the Twisted Heart trait. I do really like this idea, and I'm genuinely really excited to play this when it comes out on the 30th. I just feel like even though I'm excited and happy overall, I still feel like I need to manage my expectations, because there have been so many times where something's been announced, like a pack or something else, and I've generally looked on the positive and been excited, and then it's just not quite been what I thought it was going to be. I kind of feel like sometimes with The Sims 4, when something good comes out, there's usually like a hidden caveat, like the like and dislike system, you know. You can add more depth to your Sims and you can customize what they like and dislike, but the caveat is that you get pop-ups all the time for other Sims that you're not even playing, you know? So I'm pessimistically looking forward to this. So that's the gist of what we have coming. Well, I presume on the 30th, I presume that's coming, and then in the next installment, in the next update, I guess they're going to beef this out even more to make it so that you can have more control over which Sims can be affected by life changes. Because I think when it comes out, you won't really have any control over that. But in the update after this, you'll be able to actually select, yes, I want this Sim to have story progression, no, leave this family alone. So that would be good. That can definitely help, especially if it turns out that the pop-ups are all the time, then you can at least use that system to reduce it. And I do think, even though The Sims 4 gets a lot of flack, I think it does have to be acknowledged that this is definitely a positive thing coming to the game. And I like that it is different to The Sims 3. Yes, in The Sims 3 you don't have to control every little thing, and that, in my opinion, is better. But at least with The Sims 4, from what it sounds like, you're not going to have to choose between having story progression entirely switched off or entirely switched on. So I really like that we can customise who is affected with story development in The Sims 4. So overall, story progression, pessimistic but excited, and it's nice to know that they are genuinely trying. It seems like they really are trying to improve this game and make the community happy, and I think they've kind of realised that when it comes to base game, especially at the time of release, I think they've realised they kind of dropped the ball a bit, and it's nice to see that, even though, yes, we're 7 years down the line, which in my opinion is a bit too late, but it's nice to know that they are trying to improve the gaming experience. But yeah, I think that's enough on story progression. Let's move on. So, scenarios. Another new thing that was added in an update and added to base game. So scenarios are basically where, when you get to the home screen, and usually you have the option to start a new game or load a game, there's now a new option to start a new scenario. And when it first came out, there were two options. There was the money scenario, and then there was also finding love after a romance. Full disclosure, before I talk too much about this, I have only done one scenario, and it was the love after a romance one. So I don't really know the ins and outs of all of the other scenarios, but I still have an opinion on it. I think a few people in the Sims community were a little bit divided over the scenarios. And I think one of the main reasons is because some couldn't really understand what the point of it was, which I kind of get. It's not like it introduces real, like, step-by-step goals. Like, it isn't, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really a storytelling tool. But that's because of my own experience, because I've played, you know, like the Sims 2 story games. So I kind of base things like that on something like what we had in those games, where you had prompts and you had goals and they went with the wants and fears. It's not quite like that. When I played the love after a breakup scenario, all it really was a little box in the corner that showed me 3 possible outcomes, and it was up to me to get there. But what I did like is that there was some impact to the actual gameplay. Like, my Sims started off hating each other in a really bad romance. They had sentiments about each other, so there was somewhat of a challenge in it, in either trying to work on that relationship to get them to rekindle it, or getting your Sims to move on and meet someone else. I personally really enjoyed playing through this scenario. It was quite a welcomed addition for me. I think the addition of scenarios is a good thing. The money one, however, as far as I'm aware, all it is you just create a sim, you can purchase them a house, and then their household funds just goes to zero as soon as they're moved in, and it's basically like a rags to riches challenge. Those were the main ones at the beginning, and since then we've had a few limited time ones, which I really don't get. We've had the toddler one, where you have to get a load of toddlers to reach a certain level in skills, and then now we have the well-rounded one, and the toddler one has gone away because it was only available for a limited time. I really don't know what the whole point is in having a scenario available for a limited time. There might be a very good logical reason for that, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Why not just have them all available, or even just release them separately with separate updates so that there's a new scenario every now and again, but that they're always there? I don't really get that. And yeah, so now we have the well-rounded sim, which is someone who completes their aspiration and then reaches a certain level in a certain amount of skills. And I think it doesn't really appeal to me so much, some of the scenarios we've got, but that's only really because they've sort of been done before in challenges that have been around for a long time, you know? Like, I wasn't really interested in the money one because Rags to Riches is a pretty well-known challenge that people have been playing in The Sims for ages. And then I'm pretty sure there's a challenge as well that exists for managing toddlers and getting their skills up. So for me personally, it doesn't feel particularly new, but the Love After Romance one did feel quite new because I hadn't really done anything like that before. That being said, even though a lot of these remind me of challenges that we already have, I think one thing to remember is not everyone is aware of existing challenges and existing things we have within the community. I mean, when I played every other Sims game, I wasn't really a part of the community. Like, I didn't read forums, I didn't, even check out the Sims website. So I'm pretty sure if I wasn't a Sims YouTuber and wasn't as active in the community as I am, I probably also wouldn't know about these challenges, and so it would be quite a welcomed addition and it would feel shiny and new. So I'm sure there are plenty of Sims out there that do get that feeling from scenarios. But overall, I think they're a pretty good thing. I would like to see some new types of scenarios and maybe some more innovative ones. Some original ones would be good, especially now that we are getting story progression within the neighbourhood. Perhaps it would be good to have a scenario that's based off that, you know? But I'd be keen to know what you think about the scenarios, because at the time, which wasn't even that long ago, I found anyway that the general response was quite divided. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about scenarios? In other news, it looks like we might just be getting some more packs for The Sims 4, which, to be honest, I was starting to worry that it just wasn't going to happen, because it feels like it's just been endless kits. And it feels like it's been so long since we've had a game pack or an expansion pack brought out. But there has been a job posting for voice editors exclusively for The Sims 4 for upcoming packs. So by the sounds of that, it sounds like we are going to get some more packs in the future, whether it be expansion or whether it be game packs, which would be something to look forward to. If you want to know more about that, I actually got that information from a video that Simmer Erin did, so I'll leave a link in the video description to her video. She goes into a little bit more detail about the actual job posting. But by the sounds of it, it looks like it's not just going to be kits, which is a welcomed relief, because it feels like it has just been kit after kit after kit, and at this point I am so sick of having kits now. I feel like The Sims 4 in general has really been bombarded with content that isn't gameplay. Not even just recently. I mean, recently it's been packed with kits, but even before then, the amount of stuff packs for this game were ridiculous. So hopefully getting some new content out that's maybe a game pack or an expansion pack, hopefully we might see a little bit of a slowdown with our kits going forward. And then just one other update, which I only found out today actually. It was on Plumbella's video that a few of the characters are already getting refreshed. So the Goth family have been done and the Caliente family have been done. I'm not sure whether they're coming out in this update. I presume so. But their appearance is different. And also, you might have noticed in The Sims 4 that they were quite whitewashed. So in this update, they're going to look more like their original selves. To be honest, it may even be that this is all we're getting in terms of lore. I may have just misunderstood, but I was under the impression a few months ago that the characters were having a refresh in terms of their relationships with neighbours and things like that, which is different to the story progression because that's based on who your sim goes and meets. But I guess we'll see. It just feels like we've got a lot going on. I don't normally make videos like this where I just sort of talk about what's happening. I try not to stay too up to date with it, you know? I like to just go with the flow, see what happens. But it just feels like recently it's been one thing after another with the scenarios, the kits, the story progression, the job posting, and now the character refreshes. So I just thought, well, maybe I'll put together a little video. I think it's a good thing. I think it's restored some faith in me that the team are genuinely trying to make this a better game and to try and appease some of the people that weren't too happy with how it is as a base game. I'd love to know what you think about all these changes in the comments. I personally still think that they're winding down. I know it sounds crazy because all of these things are happening, but I think they're all only happening because I reckon these have probably been projects in the works for a long time, and now they're getting to the point where they want to close the game off, so they're just trying to push it all out at once. But I wouldn't be surprised if this time next year The Sims 4 was finished. And I know a lot of people don't want that to happen because they've invested so much in The Sims 4, and maybe it's an unpopular opinion of mine, but I'm feeling kind of ready for The Sims 5. I'm still enjoying The Sims 4, don't get me wrong. I still like making videos about The Sims 4, and it may just be my issue, but there are just a few things that are just getting a bit too much and a bit too repetitive for me at this point. Every time there's an update, I'm excited about the update, but also slightly filled with dread because I know it's going to be a pain in the ass to get my game working on the day that an update comes out. Same thing with any new packs that come out. I don't know if it's just my game, but my games are pretty much unplayable for like a day after a new pack comes out, a day after an update comes out. So I guess we'll see. But that's it from me. I guess I just kind of wanted to talk about what's going on, share my opinion. I'd love to know your opinions in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.